Hey everyone, welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. I am going to jump in and do the same soulmate snapshot that I talked about yesterday. And so if you were in the extended reading yesterday, I talked about getting in and seeing like your person is talking about coming your direction or spending more energy in your direction. They are talking about reaching out to you, making communication, improving existing communication. And there's this question about how you're actually even going to respond to that because we were getting the impression that you might not be as receptive as you might think you would be in a situation like this. So let's get in and look at it a little bit more deeply. It's going to be a soulmate snapshot, so it's one of those readings that's a little bit, doesn't have an extended. It's just me asking some questions and then going with the flow of what wants to come out in the answers. It's a little bit, I like these because they flow in a way that just, we don't get in the way of anything on this. I don't really put my own, own questions or energy on it, and we'll just kind of see what happens. It's a general reading for this collective, so it may or may not resonate with you. It's not going to resonate with everybody, but if it does resonate with you, maybe think about subscribing or checking out some of the other messages because they are very connected. And I know I say that with every reading, but like I say, also, this could be somebody's first reading. So if you haven't heard that, that's something that you need to know. So let's jump in. This is going to be the soulmate snapshot. What do you do when you start to hear from this person and when things start to change? And you know they're coming in unhealed. So what do you do when they start to show those unhealed colors? Looking first to get a bit of a backdrop, an energetic backdrop, and I want this to be between the two of you. Energetic backdrop for what's happening between the two of you. Three of Pentacles. That is working together sort of energy. I like the feeling of that. Now that feels like working together on an energetic level that's bleeding over into the 3D physical. So that's very positive. So it looks like there's a sense of working together on every level. There's also this King of Cups, which actually kind of concerns me a little bit because this is a sense of thinking twice about things. I'm all of a sudden not so sure. Here's a person that has hit send and immediately not necessarily regretted it, but started to think, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. It's that kind of feeling. So that's happening between the two of you. There's a little bit of fear, but there's this Four of Pentacles. There's more that fear, but it's fear of letting go specifically. So you've got this sense of working together, coming together, and yet this feeling of keeping each other at arm's distance. Maybe it's more them keeping you at arm's distance, but I get the sense that that could really be going both ways, which makes sense with what we saw. Boy, just threw those all over the place. Makes sense with what we saw on yesterday's reading when we started to see that you might be a little bit less receptive to them than even you would expect that to be. You've got the Eight of Rods here. This is the slowdown that we see here because of the King of Cups. So if you're feeling like this person's about to hit send, they're about to wake up to you, we saw a couple days ago, yesterday, my goodness, I feel like my person's about to hit send. That may be true, but you may be also watching what happens when they hit send and then they go, oh, should I have done that, you know? They definitely have some thinking to do. They have not made it past all of the healing that they need, and it's like they instantly recognize this. But as we saw yesterday, there's some healing that's needed on your side that you may not be ready to move past it either. However, that's not going to slow you down. There's also this feeling that you're going to take that advice about the long path, short path. If you saw yesterday's extended reading, that makes more sense because there was like a long path or a short path that you could take. And you were being definitely kind of advised to take the shorter path, but it was not necessarily like you have to see the rest of the reading to understand what that even means. But it was it's like you were going to have to trust yourself, but this feeling is that trust happening. Now, the question that I have is whether your person can also trust themselves to that level, but it's possible that they can. This is a little bit of a tug of war. We've got the Three of Swords in the reverse saying they are healed enough, able to move forward enough. We've got this Ace of Swords in the reverse here that says that there's a strong sense of being able to be in denial. Like they can stay quiet for longer, and yet this desire not to. They don't necessarily want to stay quiet. So that's a Knight of Cups. They want to come forth and do some talking. The Three of Cups suggests that things are falling apart, though, with that third party energy. So what you see from them, again, this is more confirmation that they're not going to be as healed as what you would hope for them to be when they get to you. So completely not surprising. And then we also see the piece about, this is another, we've just got some repeated messages here. They are not going to be healed when they get to you. They are going to be in a place of, this is the Nine of Cups in reverse. This is the Four of Swords in reverse. Four of Swords talks about that healing that hasn't been done. And it's a message that kind of keeps coming out for us. But the Nine of Cups here, this one's a little bit different, but it's a repeating message that we've seen. They have moved towards something that they thought was going to be beneficial in their life, but it turns out they don't actually want now that they're there. What has brought them to it is now outdated. They're not necessarily interested in that, but the problem is they don't necessarily trust themselves to move into a new place, and yet they are completely wanting to stay comfortable with their life the way that it is. So it's this sort of crisis of, who am I, what do I really want, and how am I going to go forward and get something like this. Really challenging sort of energy, and that's what's happening in their world and in between you. It's real heavy on their side, but that's kind of what it is. So what are you supposed to do? What kind of what are we expecting here? You know, what is this is a challenging place for you to find yourself. We've got the Knight of Swords. So this is a decisive forward action, and honestly, this is more about them, and it's more about what they're doing. This is like them hitting send without having a lot of forethought. And there's thought, but not specifically about that, you know? It's interesting. So they're definitely having some fear responses over here, but I wouldn't say they're doing a ton of thinking. All of a sudden, it's like the light turns green and they just go. They just put their foot down. They still don't know what to do when they come across you, so you could expect them to be awkward and not healed. You're going to see that, but you're also going to see this sort of willingness to go for broke, willingness to try something that hasn't been tried before. That's an interesting feeling coming off of the Five of Swords in reverse. You got the Ten of Cups in reverse, Five of Swords in reverse, Moon in reverse. Two of Swords says they have a decision to make, but they like blow through this decision. They find with the Five of Pentacles, they feel themselves to be remarkably healed in some way, like something has recently changed. We've seen this. Something has recently changed within them that gives them sort of that desire to move forward, but they're also being pushed forward with the universe, and they feel like they've made some progress, and yet they're going to recognize fairly quickly when confronted with this decision they don't actually know what to do once they get you in front of them. So that's a challenging place for them to be. We saw that the High Priestess in reverse there just a second ago in reverse. Well, it was an honorable mention. It was in reverse. It was all about them not really being connected up with their higher power. Oops. And when not being connected with their higher power, they're having a harder time really even trying to decide which way to go. They don't get that intuitive boost as easily. They're going to feel like they've crested a hill. So this is like victory after a long battle, but the thing is, it's not actually the end of the battle. They don't recognize that just yet. And then here we have the Wheel of Fortune saying that they're actually going to need to kind of be, they're going to be holding themselves back, but they're going to need to be held back from making more of kind of a mistake, I guess. There's a mistake that they're likely to make, if they hit send and are given the opportunity to talk with you and truly interact with you and get a little bit deeper with things, like they're going to make a mistake, and that mistake is around their masculine energy. They suddenly become very controlling of the situation, and this is, I think, part of what sets you off, makes you unlikely to this is a breakdown. So okay, we've talked about handling this diplomatically. We've talked about handling this, in a way that shows you being charismatic, but we haven't necessarily seen that they're coming in. And I don't know if you see the actual breakdown, but there's a breakdown that occurs here, an emotional breakdown, and it's because they feel like they're being pushed, but they don't feel like they're quite ready to make a call, and they have these really rapidly changing moods, and so they'll make decisions when they're in a mood to move forward quickly that they later, and not that much later, start to really regret. So this is a tough place for them. Let's see what you should be doing about it now that we know a little bit more about it. 5 of Pentacles. Look for the pain. Interesting. Look for things to be triggers for you in this. As much as this is going to want to draw your attention to them, this is still going to be about you. Ooh, you have that connection to the higher self. Be looking for it. There are intuitive downloads coming your direction, and you have everything you need in order to accomplish, like this. These downloads could come at you and you could just be completely incapable of managing them, but that's not the energy we find you in. We find you quite capable of handling it, even though with this Hanged Man in the reverse, you don't have the new perspectives that you necessarily need to process everything. Again, this is like what we were seeing in yesterday's reading in the extended portion. Hang in there, because it's going to materialize for you right when you need it, and it's going to lead you toward happiness. We have the Sun. This is a card we see far too infrequently around here, and it's about happiness. But this whole situation, even though it is awkward and maybe even very challenging, it's moving you toward this happiness. Moving you toward this happiness at a clip too. So there are going to be some potentials for pitfalls, also some potentials for improvement and going toward happiness. So you see this 8 of Cups. There's the improvement going toward happiness piece. We saw that your person had the 9 of Cups coming in the reverse over here, talking about how they had pursued something that they now realize they're no longer happy with. So you're in the same boat a little bit. And in your case, it's manifesting in an awakening that allows you to make the shift that is necessary to get what you need to make yourself happy. But watch out for those places where you can see that you're unhealed and that you still have some work to do. That's what's going to heal for you with a quickness. Okay, you're going to heal very quickness, and with a quickness. As you see these things, you're going to be healing from them. You just need to register it as, yes, this is something I want to heal from, rather than pointing the finger, at somebody else or something else and saying, this is what's at fault here. With the 6 of Cups in the reverse, beware of things from your past trying to drag you down. These are not necessarily people. Sometimes they're just memories, and they're things that make you say, oh, but remember when that was so simple, so much simpler. You know what? It wasn't. It just seems like it. It just seems like it was simpler. It was a simpler time because you didn't know then what you know now. So there are certain things that when you look back on it, you're going to have to reevaluate with a current perspective. But you're going to have the passion to do this, and you're going to have the ability to do this. You're also going to have the absence of anxiety that is needed in order for you to do this. So there's a lot of positivity in this energy, but it does require you to keep yourself very awake and aware. The 6 of Swords here says that you're going to have the faculties to do that. This is great energy for you to keep yourself awake and aware. and to be able to, as the King of Swords will tell you, back up and look at the big picture to understand the overall strategy of what you need to be doing. The Six of Swords is energy slowing down enough to allow you to do that. The King of Swords is you taking the advice to do that. So this is getting logical, but not getting up in your head. And with this Queen of Rods here, that's going to keep you from getting into your head. This Six of Swords is the kind of energy that you need to be able to break things down, slow it down, and decide what you want to do. So when this situation comes your way, and you start to see these unhealed colors, whether or not you really witness this breakdown, there's still going to be a balance that strikes within you, and you're almost going to be able to slow down, take a step back and say, all right, I've already heard this was coming. Let me think about this before I jump in and make my response, before I have an answer. And with that, I feel like I'm supposed to stop. So this was a Soulmate Snapshot. There's no follow-up to it. It's just messages that want to come out as they want to come out. So hopefully this was helpful, especially if you are one of those who will be dealing with what happens when your person comes forth and shows their unhealed colors. So looking forward to seeing you again in tomorrow's reading, and I will see you then.